Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunattu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvina Vadhitamastuma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Agree, yesterday's? No. How exactly does non-acceptance of myself create the feeling of limitedness? It is the feeling of limitedness that creates non-acceptance. It's not that non-acceptance creates limitation. It is a feeling of my being limited creates non-acceptance because I cannot accept a limited self and I find myself limited. Therefore, there is an undercurrent always of self non-acceptance. And sometimes it builds into self dislike, self rejections, self condemnation. This self non-acceptance, and ultimately all emotional problems, including depression, is the ultimate result of this self non-acceptance. And therefore, self-acceptance is the answer to all emotional problems. Well, I have a problem in accepting myself because perhaps in course of my upbringing I have been told what I am and how I am no good. So if this kind of a complex is created in me that I am not good or not good enough, then I start believing, because a child starts believing what the child is told. In that case, understand that there is an undercurrent of non-acceptance in every human being, because we are conscious of ourselves. The self that I am conscious of is limited, so I know that I am a limited being. However, the degree of self non-acceptance will vary with people, and that sense of limitedness may create a lot of non-acceptance in somebody, medium, little, and so it is a limitedness that creates a feeling of non-acceptance, not the other way around. What is the foundational reason for Atma to identify itself with what it is not? Atma identifies itself with the intellect, with the mind, with the body. Ignorance. Ignorance, and therefore habitual error. What is habitual error? Is error that you make by habit. Therefore, identifying with the body is a habitual error. We are born with that habit of taking the body to ourselves, and the reason is ignorance, because I do not know the true nature of myself, that I am limitless, and therefore I take myself to be limited. All the limitations belong to body, they belong to mind, they belong to intellect, they belong to my personality and not I. The limitations belonging to the personality of the body, mind, sense complex are thought to be my limitation, because I am identified with the body. I take the body to be myself, and therefore the limitations of the body become my limitation. What is the reason? Ignorance is the reason which creates this habit of identification. And so ignorance is the primary reason for that. In case you want further clarification in this answer, just raise your hand.
Swamiji. So, ignorance is what is the reason for ignorance?
Just a second.
Oh, sorry. I'm too excited. So, thank you for your answer. And so the question is, I don't know if it's answerable or what does Vedanta say? What do you say? What is the reason for the ignorance? Like, why are we confused? You know, why are we running around confused in this world and from life to life? And why can we not be not confused? Just be Atma and be there and just, you know what I mean? Like.
Yes, I appreciate that.
Oh.
And that's a natural question. Why is it happening? But there is no reason for ignorance. For any kind of ignorance, that I do not know a given thing, I don't know French language, Chinese language, I just don't know. There's no reason for ignorance. Ignorance is a reason for everything, but there is no reason for ignorance. Why ignorance? It is. Huh? Is it the human prakriti or human nature to be ignorant?
Yes.
No, everybody is ignorant. All living beings are ignorant. But they don't have the kind of complexes that the human beings have, therefore they don't suffer. There are no emotional problems that a dog or a cat has. There's no depression. Never find a depressed dog or a depressed cat, except for a pet dog and pet. They can get depressed because of association with us. That happens. But the street dogs and stray cats have no problem, as far as depression is concerned. So this depression is because human being is aware of the self. There is self-awareness. Now other creatures also have some kind of self-awareness. That a dog knows that it is a dog or whatever it calls itself, and that way it behaves in some way with a dog and a different way with a cat. So that shows that a dog also must have some kind of self-awareness, but not the extent of self-awareness to create complexes. The self-awareness that human being has results into various complexes of being limited. Because our sense of self-awareness is very advanced. So we are the most advanced creature having self-awareness, and the price that we pay is that the degree of self-awareness creates these complexes of being limited and self-non-acceptance. Everybody is ignorant, but human being has an advanced ignorance, you might say, or ignorance to the extent that it creates these complexes. Why is it so? Because we are evolved beings. Evolution is in terms of self-consciousness. Every living being has self-consciousness to some extent. Even plants also have, so that they can draw their food and they survive. And beginning from that, what shall I say, the minimum ignorance, if you say, to the human being who is most conscious. So the self-awareness is most evolved in human beings. And we pay the price of that evolution in terms of having complexes. Other creatures also don't know, they also are ignorant, but they don't have self-complexes. Therefore, they don't suffer. There is no suffering in any creature other than human being. If you beat up a dog or something, the fellow will, feel pain, of course, and then get away. Shake off as before. But if you beat up a human being, if you beat me up, it's not just the physical pain, but I'll feel insulted and I'll feel hurt, and a lot of complexes will be there. So not only is physical pain, a lot of emotional pain as well. This emotional pain business is not there in creatures other than human beings. So that way, they are blessed. Ignorance is bliss of that nature.
Swamiji, what would you call like a cat in the park and that you kind of show lovingness and they come near you, and the moment you try to do something like a stick or something in hand, they run away from you. What would that come under what category? That is awareness of being...
Yeah, that self-awareness is there, love for life is there, and love for happiness is there. So then when you show some food or something and all your love, it feels the love. So it is happy. Hatred makes them unhappy. So those feelings are there. In us, it is very advanced. For me, all that is needed is an expression on the face, That won't bother a cat or a dog, But we are so sensitive. If I am giving a class and somebody is not listening to me, they are looking at the ceiling, counting the beams, etc. I feel hurt, feel rejected. You mean this column is more important than me? Yes.
I just wanted to get clarification. What his question is, this ignorance is attributable to the Atma or the Manas. So actually all the ignorance is due to man not realizing what is actual source or actually he is. That is what I feel.
So your question is, who is ignorant?
Yeah.
Is Atma ignorant?
In the body, the ignorance is arising out of the mind's capability to recognize what actually I am. That's what I feel.
Ignorance does not arise, ignorance is.
Ignorance is, yeah.
And everything else arises from that.
Yeah. So I think that will clarify what his confusion. So what is this Atma and
I don't think he had that kind of a confusion, but I think his confusion is answered. Your question is answered, isn't it? Or something remains?
As best possible, I think.
As best as possible. That is a very political answer. How can you tell the Swami that your answer is not proper?
Now, regarding still this question, because also I have this doubt, why we didn't start already without ignorance, and why? Because it seems that there's a kind of filter to just few people stop to be ignorant, have self-knowledge. Because why everyone already have their self-knowledge, and then like everybody gonna be in moksha and everything gonna be perfect? Why we have like to pass through all this process, and then like just few people get this self-knowledge? Is there a reason for this? Like Bhavagan said, oh no, just like it's too much people here, so let's just make a filter, because like this, not everybody, it's not possible to have everyone here. Because this is really a curiosity that I have too. Why we didn't start already with knowledge and don't need to pass through all these things? Is there an explanation?
Why would Bhagavan samsara go on? If everybody is enlightened, then nobody will be born. He wants this to go on. What is the state of coma? Is it swapna? Is it sushupti? Or any state in between? Maybe a doctor can tell us. Coma is close to sushupti, but it's not sushupti, not just deep sleep, because you'll wake up from deep sleep. Coma, I guess, some people do wake up, and some people are in coma for a long time. I don't know the medical reason for these things. You can compare coma to a state of deep sleep, because the person is not in contact with this waking world. So it can be compared to a state of sleep, deep sleep, but not quite, because it doesn't wake up. A sleeping person wakes up. In coma,
Coma is a step ahead of deep sleep.
I don't know. If coma is ahead of deep sleep, again, doctors would be better, Could you please explain what is turiya? Some acharyas say it is a state to be realized, but others say that it is sakshi of Jagrat, Swapna and Sushupti. Kindly clarify. Turiya means fourth. Waking, dream, deep sleep, and fourth. It's not fourth, it is the one. Turiya means the very self. When identified as the gross body becomes a waker, identified as the subtle body becomes a dreamer, identified as the causal body becomes a sleeper. But without identification, he is Turiya, he is Atma. And so Turiya it means fourth, Chaturiya. And it's not really fourth. If you count the waking, dream, deep sleep, you cannot count Turiya is not in the same class. These three states are in the states of ignorance, and Turiya is the true nature, therefore you cannot call it fourth. It may just tentatively called fourth. It is the one. It is the one who is Turiya, undergoes waking, dream, deep sleep. But they are all different roles. Waking is the result of the role, dreamer is another role, sleeper is another role, and who is playing all the roles? What we call Turiya is the one, the self is playing all these roles.
Swamiji, Turiya could be for coma patient. They are constantly in Turiya. If they are not in any of the three stages.
No.
No, I'm saying, Turiya is, everybody is in Turiya.
The Turiya means the fourth, meaning one who is enlightened. One who knows, right now I think I am a waker. A dreamer and sleeper is okay, but then in waking state we take ourselves wakers. Turiya is the one who knows that I am awakened. So no identification. He is an enlightened person who has become free from identification with the body, etc. So knows himself as a self.
Just a little confusion about the coma. I'm just saying that. No, I'm just saying, then in coma, the patient does not know that he's waker or a sleeper or a dreamer. So, and the Turiya is a stage which is through and through all the stages. So,
No, coma is closer to sleep, deep sleep, not closer to Turiya. In sleep also one is not aware, coma also one is not aware. But still doctors call it coma because it goes on. In deep sleep, one wakes from the sleep. In coma, perhaps it may take a long time, one may wake up, may not wake up. In that sense, it's a different state.
in that respect. Thank you.
She's a doctor, so she knows.
Swamiji, Turiya is not a state to be realized.
No.
Because somewhere I read in some temple, Turiya state to be realized. That is why that confusion.
Oh, no, Turiya is yourself. So you have to recognize that you are Turiya or you are Atma. Can we say that our dream experiences are created by our karma? Yes. Waking also result of karma, dream also result of karma, sleep also result of karma. Waking requires different kinds of karma, dream requires different kinds of karma. So some kind of karma results in waking, some other kinds of karma result in dream, some third kind of karma results in deep sleep. All of them are results of karma. So we don't exhaust any prarabdha in dream state. Because you can exhaust prarabdha provided you do karmas that are willful. In dream there is no will. Dream just happens. So we do not exhaust any karma in dream. You may say you may exhaust some karmas, perhaps because of the experiences there, but dream is a result of our prarabdha. And sometimes they say that in dream also we exhaust some prarabdha because we go through various experiences, etc. Perhaps. But we don't perform any new karma in dream because there is no kartrutva, no doership in dream. In dream you exhaust what you have, but you don't create any new karma. How does a person who is born blind, whole waking state is never illumined by sun or fire experience, and see or have a dream state? Does Vedanta throw light on this? What does a blind person see in the dream? What does a blind person see in dream? Because he has never seen anything. He has no samskara of having seen something. So it's a good question. What is the nature of dream of a blind person who has never seen the light? Blind person also is thinking, and therefore his thinking can create dream experiences. But I do not know that whether he can dream that he is a sighted person, because he does not know what a sighted person sees. So, what's the nature of dream of a blind person is an interesting question. They're all, in my opinion, just, what shall I say, academic questions. But anyway, I guess they also have a role. This question never arose in mind because I don't care for most of this thing. What does it matter? But that doesn't mean I should dismiss your question. Nature of antahkarana. What steps can I take in the present for antahkarana shuddhi? Antahkarana means mind. And mind is a faculty that is given to us for experiencing, for contacting with the outside world through the sense organs of perception, responding to the outside world through actions of organs of action. Mind also has feelings, it also has thoughts, it also has determination. So mind has these four faculties: manaha, buddhi, chittam, ahankaraha. Manaha you can say emotional faculty. Buddhi you can say the intellectual faculty. Chittam, the remembering faculty. Ahankara is the asserting faculty. So mind or antahkarana is said to be performing these four kinds of functions, and depending on what function it performs, it gets the designation of mana, buddhi, chittam, ahankara. Although ahankara, by the way, the mind can be divided into two groups. Mind has two aspects in it. One is subject, other is object. So very often we find ourselves talking to ourselves, thinking of ourselves, advising ourselves, etc. So there are two basic things in the mind. One is ahankara, the subject, and rest is object. Object may consist of memory, object may consist of decisions, object may consist of emotions. All other vrittis or thought forms are in the form of object. Ahankara is subject. So, ahankara is not in the same category as others because others are all objects. Ahankara is subject. They just routinely say mana, buddhi, chittam, ahankara. Ahankara is not in the same category as mana, buddhi, chittam. You follow? When there is no space-time after resolution of pralaya of universe, why next cycle start at exact time? Because it's a program, built-in program. Prakriti or nature is cyclic. Creation, sustenance, dissolution. Creation, sustenance, dissolution. The cycles go on from the time beginningless. We go on until the time endless. Creation, sustenance, dissolution. What's the span? From beginning to end? I mean, it's a huge time span of billions and billions of years. What is one cycle of Prakriti is hard to calculate, but tentatively it is said that one cycle of one kalpa or one cycle is 100 years of Brahma, the creator. Every year of Brahma is 360 days. Every day, of course. Now, to get an idea, the human years of the Brahma's one day is 8.4 billion human years. Brahma's one day is 8.4 billion human years. Multiply by 360, that is Brahma's 1 year. Multiply that by 100, Brahma's lifespan. It is some 10 to 27 or something like that, I did calculate one day. But that's the span of the kalpa, that's a cycle. If that helps you. How to gain Brahmanistha? First we must gain Brahma Jnanam, knowledge of Brahman. And once you gain the knowledge, then keep on repeating that in your mind. Nishtha or abidance you get by constant abhyasa, constant repetition of something. So gain the knowledge of Brahman, I am Brahman. And keep on keeping in your mind, keep on that thought revolving, I am Brahman, I am Brahman, I am Brahman. What comes in the way of the nishtha is the dehata buddhi, identification of body. So we must create another nishtha, identification of Brahman. And that should also take to that extent that we have the identification of the body. Identification of Brahman should become the same nature, then replace that body identification. That's how we get the Brahmanistha, by Nididhyasanam. In mantra 6 that we saw, it says that in dream the waking sun and moon are not there. The sun and moon all have set when the dream state begins. But it is asking how the work is being done. In the dream also, person sits at home, goes out, performs the chores, and comes back. As it in the waking state, the dream state also a similar scenario is there. Why is it so? Because of the samskaras of the waking. This is what we do routinely in the waking. Therefore those samskaras or impressions are there, and therefore the dream world is created based on those impressions. So you find the dream also following our pattern of waking. Dream is not some new kind of world. The dream world also follows the pattern of waking, and we find ourselves doing similar things, sort of, not the same thing, but similar things in dream also. My question is that the work is also not happening with respect to the real world. Then how are we comparing both things in the same sentence? Setting of sun is true in terms of waking world, but happening of work is also not true in terms of the waking world. In dream also, a person is there, he lives in his hut, goes out, performs chore, comes back, because the dream experience will be derived from the waking experience. Since in waking state this person sits at home, goes out, performs chores and comes back, in dream also similar experience happens because the same samskaras are there to create the dream experience. When I drop the notion I am not the 10th person, I do not forget that. In the story of the 10th man, I am not the 9th person that I thought I was. That is what is meant by I am the 10th person. But in the Vyavahara world, how do I retain the knowledge that I am not a samsari? Alpagnya jiva. By practicing that thought again and again. 10th man story doesn't require practicing thought, But here, because of the habitual identification of the body, even when I gain the knowledge I am Brahman, that habitual error takes over and then again I seem to as though forget. Again I must remind myself. So a constant reminder, this is called Nididhyasanam, where I keep reminding myself, seeing myself, I am Brahman, and create a new habit which should become as powerful as the habit of identifying the Brahman, with the body. That's why Nididhyasanam, a long Nididhyasanam or long time Nididhyasanam is required to gain abidance in this knowledge. Swamiji in the mantra 6, the 5 adjectives are given: Vijnanamaya, Praneshu, Rudi, Antarjyotihi, Purusha. Each implies that Atma is different from the gross and subtle elements. How does this Viveka apply for the adjectives Antarjyotihi and Purusha? Antarjyoti is the Swarupa of the Atma. Purusha also is Swarupa of the Atma, who is Vijnanamaya, Praneshu, Rudi, Antarjyotihi. So Purusha is the nature of Atma. Antarjyotihi. Others are Visheshana. Is Vijnanamaya, Praneshu, Rudi, etc.
So Swamiji, 5 names are used, of which 3 are Visheshana and 2 are Swarupa.
You may say that Praneshu, Rudi, Vijnanamaya, Praneshu, Rudi, and Antarjyotihi and Purusha can be said to be the In mantra 7 it is said this Atma transcends Mrityu. Ajnanam in dream, but even in dream Ajnanam as the cause remains. So how Mrityu, how to be understood here? What is meant by transcending Mrityu is transcending the gross body. So dream experience is possible when you transcend or give up identification of the gross body. And that was called Mrityu. The word Mrityu was used for that purpose because Mrityu means ignorance actually. Ignorance causes this identification. So that ignorance remains, but a particular identification is given up and a new identification happens in the dream state according to karma. The Janma Mrityu talked in mantra 8 is of waking and dream state. Janma Mrityu are of waking state basically. Through sadhana, I reached single pointedness in Ajna Chakra. Now the question is, how do I bust this small bubble of individual awareness to merge with cosmos? This individual awareness, meaning the awareness that I am an individual. It's not individual awareness, but the awareness of the sense of individuality arises from identification with the individual body And you overcome that by giving up that identification and identifying yourself with Brahman, with totality. So to become free from that identification of the body, you have to create a new identification, I am Brahman, I am Brahman. After gaining knowledge of Brahman, that is possible. So you need not worry about awareness to merge with cosmos, etc. I mean, that's a different kind of process of merging into. Here we are just talking about the knowledge of what I truly am. It's ignorance that is denying me the benefit of my true self. And therefore through knowledge we realize our true self and we keep on practicing until that identification of the body goes away. And this new identification that I am Brahman is created. Until then, that practice of nididhyasana is required. How do we know that consciousness does not depend upon anything else? Consciousness is self-revealing, self-existent, self-sufficient. Self-revealing, Chit. Self-existent, Sat. Self-sufficient, Ananda. So, Sat Chit Ananda is the nature of consciousness, same as Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. And so, consciousness does not depend on anything else, it depends on what you mean by consciousness. They say consciousness of flower. That is the state of mind, a vritti or a thought of the mind, that does depend upon the flower of the mind. But that which enables you to become conscious about this flower is consciousness. It is the consciousness because of which you become conscious of anything. Consciousness of a particular thing depends upon the mind. Just consciousness doesn't depend upon anything, but consciousness of a particular thing requires a thought of the mind. So that consciousness, the consciousness of flower, depends upon the vritti or the thought of flower. But consciousness as such does not depend upon anything. Consciousness of a particular thing requires a particular thing. So how does it take place? As is explained, my mind goes out through, let us say, my eyes. Context is flower. The mind takes the form of flower, and thus a flower thought is created in my mind. That's when that process is complete, then I become aware of the flower or conscious of the flower. So that is a particular consciousness which requires all this process to take place. But consciousness itself is self-existing, self-revealing. It does not require an object to be there. It is, as I said, self-existing. self-revealing, self-sufficient, which is myself or yourself. A particular consciousness of flower requires flower, requires mind, requires thought. But consciousness itself doesn't require, in fact, all of them depend upon the consciousness. Consciousness does not depend upon mind. You become conscious of mind. You become conscious of something when consciousness is there in the first place. Does it make sense? It's a very long essay here. The object depend on light, etc., etc. But then this is what I got from this. One second. Please speak in the microphone. Just a minute.
The question is, how do we know that consciousness doesn't depend on anything else for its existence?
How do we know that that consciousness does not depend upon anything else? If consciousness depends upon something, then what does that something depend upon? Upon something else. What does that something else depend upon? This will lead to infinite regression.
It may depend on something else that it is independent.
It cannot be. If consciousness helps with self-existing, something has to be ultimately, if this consciousness depends upon something else, that requires something else for its existence. So ultimately this will infinite regression. You must come to a point where the final consciousness is self-existing. So why not this consciousness itself is self-existing? There has to be a self-existing principle. Otherwise things don't exist.
Yes, but why is that self-existent thing consciousness?
Yeah, because there is existence. How do you know that the flower is? How do you know that flower exists?
Because I see it?
Exactly, when you become conscious of flower. That flower exists is determined when you become conscious of flower. When can you become conscious of flower?
What's the question?
When the flower is, then you can become conscious of flower. If flower is not there, you cannot become conscious of flower. To become conscious of flower, the flower should be there. How do you say the flower is there? When you become conscious of flower. Just think about it. How do you say that flower is? Because you become conscious of it. But then when can you become conscious? When the flower is there in the first place. So is, to be, and consciousness, they are not separate. You see the flower because it is because you see it. How does a flower is? Because you see it. When can you see it? When flower is. You follow what I'm saying? When can you say flower is? When the flower exists. How to determine flower exists? When you become conscious of it.
So I know the flower is because I see it, but I don't see how it is because...
When you say I see the flower, means I become conscious of flower.
Yes.
So you become conscious of flower, then you know that flower is. But when can you become conscious of flower? Only when the flower is.
Yes, but it could exist without me seeing it.
Yeah, but how? For you it exists only when you become conscious.
For me, yes.
That's all that matters.
But for the flower,
For the flower?
it could exist without me seeing it.
Well, in a way you say that it exists, but your mind knows what it does not know also. Everything can be divided into what I know and what I do not know. So what I know. Rest I know as I do not know. Therefore you know everything. Either as it is or that I don't know. But simple thing to answer your question, that you can become aware of flower when the flower is, and that the flower is can determine when you become aware of it. So awareness and existence always go together. You cannot become aware unless something exists, and that it exists is determined only when you become aware. So awareness and existence go together.
In awareness, they come together. Yes.
In awareness?
In awareness, awareness comes together with existence. But outside.
But
of
you say that in awareness exists. In awareness means what?
I mean, we are only aware of things existing together. I mean, when we are aware of them, we are not aware of things existing when we are not aware of them. That is obvious.
You do not know that they exist when you are not aware.
Yes.
You do not know that they exist. That doesn't mean they don't exist.
So if they exist without me being aware of them,
Yes.
how?
Because your awareness is limited by your mind.
So that means they exist independently.
No. Your awareness is nothing but a state of mind. When you say you are aware of flower, it is the mind which takes the form of flower. That's how you become aware of the flower. So the awareness is limited. That's not the infinite awareness becomes limited to the flower, then become aware of flower. The infinite awareness takes the form of the pot, then you become aware of the pot. So awareness takes a form through the vritti of the mind, then you become aware of a particular object. But awareness in general, unconditional awareness, becomes condition for you to become aware of a given object. Otherwise, unconditional awareness doesn't depend upon anything. Think about it.
Okay.
So, I mean, lots of questions are there, and I don't think that we can. This I am taking because it does not fit into this one, this paper. During today's lecture, you spoke of the dreaming, waking and deep sleep states. When a dreamer awakes, the dreams disappear, being wholly a creation in the mind of the dreamer. Is it the same when a person who is awake goes to sleep? Three states are there: waking, dream and deep sleep. So, what is the question exactly, if the person can explain to me?
It's my question.
And the microphone comes to you. Please speak into the microphone.
My question is, because the dream is wholly a creation of the dreamer, it's not real. But in our waking world, we also say that everything is mithya. So when a person is in the state of being awake, and then the state changes, so they go into deep sleep, for example, because everything is mithya, not really real, is it the same as the dream state where it kind of just goes away?
You can, what we call waking, you can call universal dream if you want to. Our waking can be called a universal dream. cosmic dream, our dream is individual dream. In that sense, both are projections. Dream is a projection of the dreamer, and waking is the projection of the dream is the projection of the individual mind, the waking is the projection of the cosmic mind. So when you are dreaming, for you the dream world is real at that time. Similarly, the waking world is real when we are awake, which is the cosmic dream. So from this dream, fortunately, we can wake up to a true nature. The dreamer doesn't have that kind of a facility, but the waker has. Okay.
Continuing from one of the previous questions. Swamiji, continuing from one of the previous questions, can you say humans are born ignorant because of their past? It's an extension of the past karmas, and that's why they are born ignorant.
No, past karma itself was product of ignorance.
And that continues into the newborn human or the new human.
Yes,
So
ignorance.
that is why he is ignorant.
No,
No.
he is born because he is ignorant. Ignorance has no cause. Everything else is the product of ignorance.
Ignorance is anadi. This ignorance is anadi.
Yeah. Anadi, see, anadi means without adi. Adi can mean beginning. Adi also can mean the effect. So it is anadi means doesn't have beginning, or it is not an effect of anything, not caused by anything. So the ignorance seems to have fascinated everybody, you know.
The first human who was created, would he have been pure without any...
There is no first human, there is no first thing. Imagine, because for something to be created, something must be there. So for the first to be created, what is there? There is no such thing as first, understand? There is no such thing as beginning. No such thing as first. So Bada Swami said, that is why the measure of time is second, he would say. He used to joke, but then the thing is that, so time unit is second. There is no first. You can't imagine first. Okay. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamada Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om.